got to know what product management really is, how a business is run, how a startup model is built, how you build that kind of customer loyalty, etc. And as a startup college, we started from scratch zero with zero investment. And we started generating profits right from day one, which is a really good thing for a startup that is such initial days. We had to deal with customer issues, and the entire process of managing and co-founding Zeromile Auto is actually where I got to know that, okay, this is how a business is run. Fast forward, I got into IndiaMart as assistant product manager, where I learned how things are done at scale. And now I'm here building products at Nykaa. At Nykaa, I primarily focus on post-order customer experience. So in simple words, let's say you've purchased something on Nykaa and you've placed an order. We ensure that your post-order experience, which includes order tracking, cancellation, return, refunds, etc., all of these things are basically this entire experience is delightful for you. So that's about it. I think we'll start with the session CV building for product roles. So I think before applying for any PM entry level job or even an internship role, it's very important for us to, just get to know what the role really is. What do product managers actually do? What are the skill sets required to, survive in that product management ecosystem? And that's when you really start building your CV around it. So I think we can move on to the next slide. And it's actually an open question to the entire audience that anybody who has an idea of what product manager is, what we do, what are the roles and responsibilities, I would love to hear.
If anybody has a question, they can type it out in the chat box and then I'll read it out.
Anybody who would like to know, who would want to speak about product management, or just even if they have a small understanding of what the role overall really is, I'd be happy to hear.
Just waiting for someone to ask a question so I can read it out.
I saw Aman unmuting himself. Aman, do you want to talk about it?
Wait, my scene is.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Actually, what I think about product management is like a product manager handles every operation of a product, like from its beginning level, like ideation about what the features would be, to taking it to the market and making it industry relevant.
Okay, yeah, that's really great. That's a very valid point. Anything else that a product manager do apart from just building features?
Like he analyzes the industry, I think.
Yeah, they do.
I think it's about PRDs, product research documents, mostly. Like at our level, that's what we have done tasks related to product management.
Okay, PR is actually a very small part of it. It's actually, okay, we'll go through it. Anything else?
Harshit, you can unmute yourself, I think.
Ma'am, I think product managers just reduces the pain point of customers.
Yeah, that's very true. Okay, so I think a bunch of you already have a bit of an understanding of what product management career is, what do we do, while a bunch of you are here to just figure out what the role really is. So in the simplest terms, product management is about delivering a product that people need and want, but at the same time, we also want to achieve the company's growth and revenue. So it involves identifying what the customer wants, creating a product roadmap. That's when really that PRD system comes into our path, because we do have to document the entire research that we have done. What are we trying to build? What are we trying to achieve? The goals, what are going to be the metrics? Metrics are nothing but just an identifiers telling me that, okay, my feature is going to work or not. Then we do have to collaborate with teams as well. We do have to make decisions to ensure that the product meets the customer needs, and simultaneously, all of this is done to achieve a business goal. And so basically, to do all of this, product managers do work closely with different teams. We do work with design teams, technical teams, we do work with developers. We do have to ensure that a product is working fine. That is when we really collaborate with QA teams, which are going to probably test your prototype or your final product. So what product management also involves is identifying opportunities for the new product. So let's say you've already launched a product and it's working fine, but you do need to iterate it and you do need to keep on developing so that your customers get the best out of it. You do need to monitor your product performance as well, which I think somebody mentioned that we do look at the data as well, because we do need to ensure that a product is basically meeting its goal or not. And I think a lot of people do get confused between product management and project management. And I think while the two teams do work together, and also on the same initiatives, but the roles and responsibilities are quite different. So to be explaining in simpler terms, product managers are responsible for creating the plan and ensuring that it's carried out correctly. While what a project manager will do is they'll take the big plans and they'll figure out what are the specific tasks that they need to do to make it happen. So product manager is basically responsible for the overall vision, while the project manager is basically depending on and managing all the small leaf level tasks that are related to that end goal. I hope there's no confusion here. Now, another point that I want to highlight is that how do you even know that product management is the right career path for you? So if you love problem solving and you do have a knack of understanding customer needs and you enjoy actually collaborating with different teams, you might be in your college, but if you like to collaborate with different teams of a particular class, of a particular club or committee, I think product management might be a good fit for you, because maybe you can think about the times where you've been excited about a new product launch, or you enjoy brainstorming solutions, or when you've noticed something missing in the market, or you've realized that, okay, this is something that I can build, or this is something that is a great idea that customers can use, or even while using an XYZ application, you thought that, oh, this app has this problem, but that problem can be resolved by the solution that I just came up with. So I think that problem solving thinking capability and your ability to actually open up to people and collaborate, I think product management as a career might be a good fit for you. I think now that we do have some idea, let's begin with how to even start. What is the step one of building the right CV? If we can move to the next slide. So basically, step one is adding a skills section. Now, a lot of time I also get this question that, ma'am, we do not have a technical background. We are not really from a computer science background, and I'm not even an engineer, and I don't understand tech at all. What do we do? Is product management really fit for me? Should I even apply for the job, etc.? So guys, let me tell you one thing. It is not necessary to have an engineering background. Even coming from a non-computer science background, it's okay for you to apply for a product manager role. Students from non-tech backgrounds can also apply to an entry-level job, which is assistant product manager, or they can actually apply for a job internship roles as well. And because these are entry-level positions, the recruiters are not really looking for product experience in other companies basically. So you don't need to be a computer science engineer or come from a technical background to become a product manager. However, what you can do is basically make an effort to understand, to develop those technical skills, which is basically going to help you in your future product management career. The reason why I ask this is it not only gives you the ability to have a better communication with your engineering team. So like I mentioned that in your entire stint of product management, you will have to interact with engineering teams as well, because once you finalize that, okay, this is a feature that I want to build. The teams that are going to be building are going to be talking technical, and you should be able to understand their language. You should be able to conversate with them. If they're throwing a logic at you that, okay, this cannot be done in 10 days or 15 days, it will take 3 months, you should be able to understand that why is it taking 3 months? Why can it not be done in 1 month? So I think that level of understanding you'll get once you start understanding some of the technical concepts. It will also help you plan your projects better, estimate the deliverables, like I mentioned about the EDDs of any particular project. And the simple strategy is to basically acquire this knowledge via different courses. You can do a simple SQL course. You can understand how tables are stored in a database, etc. And even Googling about the new technologies that are coming every now and then can actually be of great help because I think you all must be aware of the booming ecosystem of AI right now. And I think if you know about this system and if you know how does these work, you would be able to implement those technologies in your product as well. And because product management is actually a mix of technical, business, and communication skills, in this section, it's very important for you to actually drill down and find the right skill that you can add to your resume. Skills like you can add skills like strategic thinking. You can add any that you're good in leadership. You do have a leadership quality. You're good in data crunching, or you're able to deduce insights once you look at the data. So things like that can be added as a skill. And or you could add that you're good in designing. Maybe you're good at Photoshop or you're maybe good at Figma. You can actually mention that as a skill set as well. And mentioning all these in the skills section would actually be really helpful for the recruiter to understand that, okay, this candidate can actually be a good fit for a product management role because he already knows a bit of what the role requires. So you can also mention about some Google Analytics tools, which is some analytics tool, which is one of them is GA, which is Google Analytics, Google Marketing. There's Tableau. There's a lot of software that you can actually get the hands-on experience by doing a small crash course and then maybe add it as a skill. Another reason that I think this section can be really helpful is to include skills depending on the role, personally. Because there are some skills that you probably know. For example, if you had MS Word or MS Excel, these are the software that I think everybody in the industry knows now. And it's not really a skill set which really makes you stand out and, make you different from the rest of the crowd. So I think it's really important to show a little bit of personality in this skill set section that you're passionate about sometimes, or let's say if in the section you can also add a hobby to it, or let's say you're good at something which is outside work, and honestly, if that is very related to the role, it can actually be helpful. So for example, if let's say you took a part in any of the contests or you took part in hackathon and you led a team and you're a part of this XYZ club, or where you're leading a group of 6, that all shows that you were a good leader and you did showcase your leadership skills. So you can actually add all of these as well. Another, I think, yeah, we can move to the next slide. One second, Mike. Okay, is my internet better?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. So, so let's do a small activity where, let's say I want to host a birthday party and I want to ensure that I get maximum number of gifts. Now, how do I do it? How do I ensure that I do get maximum number of gifts? Anybody who can help me out here?
Have good food at the party.
Have good food.
That will help to invite many people. So
But how would the people know that there's going to be good food until unless I mention it on the invitation, if that's what you're saying? Anybody else? Come on, there's going to be a lot of options that I can actually do to ensure that I get too many gifts. I think few people have raised their hands. Anybody who wants to unmute themselves and speak up?
Yeah, so what I think is like this should be decided like while you are inviting a number of people. So like you should keep the priority on the people that are closer to you and that you have prior experience like of gifting them, of receiving gifts from them. So you can like invite those people. So you'll have a better probability of getting gifts from those people. Like you'll be sure like yeah, those people will surely gift me something. So this could be one thing. And second thing, the same that you could create like host the party at some big place. Like invitation would be better. Like you can mention on the invitation, okay, like this would be the menu, this would be the place. So like the people would get okay. She is having a party at a good place, so it's our like we are obliged to give gifts. So like these two are the like points that came into my mind.
Okay, yeah, that works. I can see Aditya raising his hand.
Yes, I think that one way it can be that when the invitation card, we can like make the invitation card look good. As for us, the only thing we are giving them is a word that they have come to the party and the invitation card. If we make the card look good or look like it's an actual good party, that's the way I think.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the way I look.
One can throw a party near to gift shops and all, so that can help getting more number of gifts.
Sorry, inviting who?
A place where some organizing the party that should be near to gift shops and all,
Oh,
so can help.
okay. So even if somebody has forgotten, they can actually go buy something and get me. Okay. Anybody else?
Is my voice clear? Hello.
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay, so like if you want people to invest in you, basically you have to invest in them first. So one of the way could be you have to send personalized invitation to each and everyone.
Okay.
Right? Just in any personalized manner, like if you know them and if you know something about them, you have to inculcate that in your invitation. That could be a way of practice.
Okay. So inviting acquaintances instead of inviting anybody whom I'm not sure if they're going to give me anything.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. I got your point. Anybody else who wants to speak up?
Inviting more number of people will help.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Obviously, the more I invite, the more people will come to the party and the more gifts I'll receive. That's a very logical answer. Okay, so I think we can move on to the next slide. I asked actually the same question to ChatGPT and it gave me solutions like sending out invitations, which is more or less the same thing that Kunal said that we should be inviting more people. Mention your gift preferences so that people do not get confused or they don't have to think about gifting anything. Creating a gift registry and things like that. So what I mean And what I want you to look at the slide and understand is that my objective was to get maximum number of gifts. And the ways I can achieve is by inviting more people, by sending personalized invitations, by creating a gift registry, etc. So for any project or any task, that there's an end goal, there's an objective for me which I'm trying to achieve, and there are a list of ways of how I can achieve it. So the controlling factor for me is basically these 4-5 ways which I can do or I cannot do in order to achieve my goal. So let's say if I do only one, I only send out invitations, and I obviously that's going to help, but it's only going to help me achieve my objective as, let's say, 10%. But at the same time, if I do all 5, I also send out more invitations, more personalized invitations. I mention my gift preferences, etc. If I cover all of my ways in order to achieve that objective, it could actually result in achieving my objective for like 2x or 3x, right? So if we can move on to the next slide. Another step that that's very essential while building a great CV is actually adding a key project. So by adding a key project which has a clear objective, like I want to host a birthday party, but at the same time I also do want to achieve maximum number of gifts, and the steps taken to achieve it. Like what did I do in order to achieve that end goal? And this section can be utilized if you want to highlight a particular topic that you might have good knowledge, because you should be able to handle all the cross questioning that could happen with the recruiter. And even if you have one project, even if there's one small live project or some activity or some project that you took on your own, add that as a separate project and let the recruiter see it as a separate section, and then you can really talk about it during an interview. Another reason that I want you to look at this particular section is let's talk about why this even matter. So let's say you put yourself into the shoes of a recruiter and you do have a stack of hundreds of resumes to sort through. And let's say for product managers, for each applicant, you want to find enough proof that the candidate is good enough to pass them on to the hiring manager. And so this might mean that some people do have an MBA, some people do have an internship with a big company such as Google or Microsoft, etc. How do you stand out your resume? How do you make that recruiter feel that, okay, even if you do not have that big name, or even if you do not have that past experience, how do you even stand out? How do you make that recruiter look like that, okay, you do understand product management and you do know that what the role really requires? This is the best section to actually show that, because it shows that it is kind of a proof that you know what it takes to do well on a job. And I know we all get the temptation that you want to put something there, you feel like there's maybe not enough information. Trust me, the less you put it, the more it's better. So when you're adding something, when you're mentioning the project which has a relevant experience to you, don't just, I really recommend that you do not copy projects that you might not have worked on, or you just have a little bit of an idea, but okay, you thought that, okay, we can actually talk about it. Only add a project that is relevant to the product management role and that is also relevant to your past experience. So, for example, let's say you're mentioning a project that you're part of this XYZ committee, or you're part of this XYZ club. What I want you to also look at it is that out of those 4 committees or 4 or 5 clubs that you're a part of, what is the essential club or committee that is more relevant or more contextual to your product management role? So I am a recruiter. I won't get to understand that whether you're interested in a finance club or you're interested in a operations field. It's too much for me in this one section. So instead, trying to show that you're the master of all trades, which is sometimes good, because it also shows that you're capable of managing your time, you can work well under pressure, you're good at maintaining work-life balance. But on resume, what you need to ensure is that you pick a big project that you might have worked on, and you can also talk about it, and you're able to handle all the cross-questioning around it. Also, like I mentioned, obviously the project has to be very relevant to the role that you're applying for. So if you've done a project around finance or accounting or anything that is quite non-contextual, it's better to avoid that. I think we can move to the next slide. Yeah, so this is basically showing them what you're good at. So the examples that I gave earlier is, for example, if you're good in Photoshop or you're good in Figma designing, you can actually somehow add it in the skill section, or you can actually show it in a key project as well. So let's take an example that you led a team of 5 and you had to achieve, or you had to build something creative that could help users. So let's take an example that you had to build a very creative application that could help users, or let's say students only, get internship roles. So when you're adding a key project, you also need to mention that what was your contribution to that project. Okay, that you led a team of 6, okay, that you were a great leader, but what is it that you did achieve? What is it that, what is the impact that your project could make? And what is the contribution of your contribution to the team as well as the project? So if you were a part of product designing or you were part of brainstorming, you need to make the project section look like that, okay, this is something that I'm really good at, but this is something that I did as a team member or something. Another point I want to highlight is aesthetics don't matter. When it comes to resume aesthetics, really it doesn't matter. So don't go and waste your, just don't go and buy some paid software so that you can curate your good looking resume, because you just need to focus on the content. You just need to focus on the right keywords that you're using. And if you're able to curate your resume in a very structured format and layout, and you mention everything in a very bullet format where you're highlighting your achievements and you're also mentioning the numbers. By numbers, what I mean is, let's take the older example that you're trying to build an application for students who could actually get internships. Now, the numbers here could be like that, okay, you experimented with 100 students where out of 100, 50 rated your application as 4 and above. So you do have that concrete data that can be mapped to your project, which could tell the recruiter that, okay, he did really a good job. Not only did he build an application, not only did he lead a team, but he also, whatever he did, whatever he built, he did actually impact the end customer, which is your students. I think we can move on to the next slide. Now, step 4 is basically deciding what to prioritize. Now, it's important to keep things as lean, as simple, and as concise as possible, because I know a lot of us do have the temptation that we do have to include so much in it. Even if we do not have things, we imagine and we add all the imaginary things that are possible. We always think of these are the cheat sheets in college that we do have to write as much information in that small piece of paper, but thinking that it'll get us shortlisted or it'll help us get on the door. But trust me, like adding more information on that one page of resume does not help. It's all about adding the most essential information. You do have to be more concise and more clear about what you want to prioritize as a good product manager might want to do. So out of the 4 projects, out of the 5 projects, you do need to ensure and pick one big project that can be added. So now let's say you've mentioned that you were the editor of XYZ magazine, which is great. But I also see that there's this person who's also part of a puzzle club. And he's also part of this XYZ society, or he's also a part of this XYZ committee or a board or something. Now, while all of these things are really good for your own career, but for when you're adding it on resume, it doesn't necessarily make sense, because while all of these could be a passion for you, while all of these could help you build your entire career, and that could actually help you developing your personal skills, but when you're adding on resume, what the recruiter is thinking is, okay, this person is doing that, this person is doing that, this person is also doing a committee work, he's also part of this club. So for me, the candidate is not able to prioritize what he wants to focus on. He's maybe not aware of what product management really is, because your product manager needs to do is prioritize. we do, out of 10 things, we do need to prioritize that what is the one thing that is going to help me improve my product, that's going to help me give the most impact. So that's the very first thing that you need to figure out while selecting a project. I think we can move to another step, which is basically telling a story. So what I believe is a well-crafted story can actually help to convey your skills, accomplishments, and qualifications in a more impactful way. So like I mentioned that when you're drafting your resume, it should be in a proper structured format. It doesn't necessarily have to be that, okay, you've mentioned your education on the top, you've mentioned some of the project that you did in the middle while you're also talking about your experiences all over the page. It should not be like that. It should be very simple for a recruiter to understand that, okay, you did your education, what is the next thing that you did? Okay, you gained some experience, let's say. What is how did you even utilize that year or while you were doing the experience, what is the project that you built, or what is the impact that you made? And then you can maybe talk about your key projects, and then maybe lay it out in a very narrative manner that the recruiter understand that, okay, this has been the growth of that XYZ person. Another thing that I want to touch here is, while it's good to have an understanding of, the basic questions that may get asked during the interview, because it's very valuable to, have the entire smooth process. It actually increases your confidence as well, your sense of clarity, and it can actually lead to, your chances of getting hired. So while an interviewer is asking product questions, they are mostly looking if you are able to solve a problem. When you aren't familiar with that kind of industry, or you're not familiar with the space. So for example, if you've done internship in a specific industry, but they might ask you questions related to a very different industry together. So let's say you did a sales internship, but the recruiter might ask questions around something related to tech, or something related to how do you build a product, or how will you even do this XYZ data crunching activity. So what they'll try to do is they'll try to put you into tricky situations to see if you have the potential to assess a core user problem. And how do you come up with the solutions, or what is your thought process in the entire activity? What is the creativity? How well do you empathize with the users? So you can actually keep in mind some of the things that can be useful to you while you're trying to give the recruiter an idea that, okay, you do have that thought process of how a product manager should think. So to just give an example of how and what are the possible questions that a recruiter can ask. So you could be actually asked about a new product design, or improving existing products, or any software or hardware question as well. These questions actually revolve around like, how do you build a car for blind people, or how do you build a new healthcare product for the elderly, or how do you even design an existing application? So let's say Instagram, how do you design it once again if it had been it was to be released in 2023, or it was to be released in 1990? And these questions may go from general in-depth to actually help the interviewer understand that, okay, you do have the specific knowledge, but even if you don't have the specific knowledge, you are ready to take a chance at it, and you're ready to even start thinking about the users, and you're ready to deep dive into the problem solution, basically. So I'll give an example. So let's say the interviewer is asking you a question that, how do you build a food delivery or an application product? Now, if I don't have the relevant experience, or if I'm not familiar with the space, the very first thing that's going to come into my mind is, I don't know how apps work. I don't know how the food industry works. I'm not even a professional. I don't have the relevant background. So I don't have any idea about this problem. So there is a certain framework that you can actually keep in mind while you're trying to solve these kind of product questions. First is basically identifying your relevant customers and the problems that you're facing. So think yourself as a person who is in need of food delivery app. Try to go in the basics where you can answer something like, I don't know much about the food products or delivery apps, but I'm thinking of few problems. maybe we could build a product around people who do not have time to actually cook, or who are people who are actually staying away from home and they do miss a homemade food. So let's just try to focus on this one user problem, and let's try to target this one specific customer segment. Now the second thing, so first is basically identifying your user problem and the target customer. The second would be thinking the basic functionality of the product. So now since people are ordering online, they may be thinking of few necessary features like where they can order from, if they can see the food item, they can see the price, they can also see that what is the rating that other people might have given for this XYZ item, what are the different varieties, etc. So that's the very basic functionality for my food app to work, right? And the third is the competitors. Basically, I need to understand that in the same industry, how many competitors do I have? How do I even stand out with my new application that I'm trying to build? So what the way you can answer this is that I know there's competition in the market with the food delivery apps like Zomato and Swiggy, but all of these have a collaboration with high-end restaurants revolving more around junk food only. But I believe our product could stand out from the rest by collaborating with the mothers who are actually cooking every day and are ready to deliver meals to the people who want to order from the application. So this is how you can actually answer, and this is the framework that you can use in order to answer such product questions. So one is obviously understanding the problem and the customer. Second is building the minimalist and the most basic functionality. And the third is understanding the competition. I think we can move to the next slide. Yeah. So now that we are aware of how the CV should be created, what are the good points, what are the bad points that should be kept in mind, I think with this slide, what I want everybody to do is to roast a CV. So in the next slide, we'll be showing a sample CV. And what I want and what I expect from everybody is to start analyzing and start identifying that what is wrong with the CV, what are the good things, what are the bad things, what are the mistakes that this person has made while making this entire CV. So I think we can move to the next slide and we can begin.
Guys, you can just start raising your hands and then I'll unmute you.
Even the smallest thing that you think that, okay, this is something that is very odd, or maybe this person should have done in a much better way. The format, I don't think we do have to go into the content, but at the overall idea of the resume, what do you think is the best and obviously the worst?
I think there is too much content on the same thing to read.
Okay.
Kunal wants to say something.
Too many bullet points.
Okay, valid. I think similar to what it's raised.
Not much emphasis on what impact has been done, like no highlighting and nothing in terms of stats.
Yeah, very valid. Anything else? We can think about the points that we discussed and if anything is missing.
There in the comments actually, Harsh says everything is too cluttered. No achievement is standing out.
Yeah, that's good.
Aniba says that use of more numbers to create impact.
Hmm. Okay, so if I look at this resume, I think the overall format and the layout, I think it's pretty fine. It's very structural that I can see at the top professional summary and I can look at the work experience and then I can look at the education. But again, the very first important thing that's missing is the achievement, like somebody mentioned, that a key project. Like, how do you even know that in your entire stint of your work experience, what is the greatest thing? What is the greatest achievement that you did? That's missing. And again, like somebody mentioned that the stats are missing. I don't even know that if you did a good job or a bad job or how many users did you impact to. I do not get any idea. Another thing that I want to highlight is if I think in this resume, there is no gap. Person has left another job and he has joined another job. But what I also want to tell her is if any person who is actually taking a gap or do have some months that where he did not actually work, you do not have to actually like just skip that from mentioning in your resume. You cannot just say that okay, you worked till 2018 and you started another job at 2020, but you cannot just mention these two things. Obviously, that is a that is going to give a wrong idea to the recruiter that okay, you were absent for 2 years. What did you even do? It does not help. It does not explain on the resume. I'm not going to call up and ask you that okay, what did you do in those 2 years? So what I recommend is that if you've done something till 2018 and let's say you started another from 2020, you do need to mention those 2 years as well, and you do need to mention that what did you do in those 2 years. You could mention a course, you could mention that okay, you did a small business internship, or did a family business, or you took some time to actually get some skill sets, or you wanted to focus on developing some technical skills, etc. But you do need to mention where those 2 years went and what did you actually do in order to get the best out of it. So that's really important. Another, I think, small things that everybody needs to keep in mind is the intonation and the grammar mistakes and spelling mistakes. But because that really makes the recruiter look like that you did not actually, put a good effort in crafting your resume. Another thing that I want to mention is if you're writing a resume and you don't actually quite understand what product management really is, what an effective product manager does, so you need to review that before you actually start with the process of creating your own resume. So here's a simple hack that any job description that you look at, they are basically telling you what they are looking out for. So one thing that I often do is I look at the relevant experience section of a job of my own resume and I map it with the job description of the profile that I'm applying for. And I try to add keywords and I try to add the projects around the maybe the points that the recruiter is looking for. So that's just my simple hack where I just look at the job description because that's basically them telling you that this is what they're looking for. So you can actually start adding your skill sets, your projects, your maybe your work experience as well according to the job description points. And that is going to be really helpful for you.
Okay, so ma'am, was that all from the PPT?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the Q&A session, and I encourage you guys to ask questions and any doubts that you have because this is a very good so if you guys have any doubts, you can just raise your hand and I'll just unmute you. Again, guys, questions are encouraged as this is a very good opportunity that we are presenting here.
Ma'am, what kind of project would be relevant? Because let's say someone has a technical project and has worked somewhere, then would it be relevant, or what should be specifically focused on?
Yeah, I think technical projects are actually contextual because let's say I'll give an example that if you try to build an application or you try to brainstorm on the idea of an application, that is a really plus point for your resume. But if you're going too much into tech, that might not be relevant for a normal product manager role. But if you're applying for a technical product manager role, it can actually be helpful. Another project that in case you do not have anything, you do not have a project related to your role, what you can do is you can simply pick up any application. Let's say you can pick Zomato or Swiggy, etc. You can try to find what are the problems that you as a customer are facing. Why don't you jot it down? Why don't you think of the solution that, okay, this is how that problem can be solved, and create a project around it. Create a project and create a case study and add that as a separate section. Tell the recruiter that, okay, I did my own case study of how XYZ customers can actually come on Zomato and order more, which is going to improve the overall order experience, etc. So even if you do not have anything, I would recommend that you do this activity and add that, and that is going to be actually very contextual to the product manager role.
Ma'am, Akshat is asking, what is the most effective way of reaching out to a recruiter through LinkedIn?
Okay, so I think most of you are, I don't know if you're aware of it, but LinkedIn has recently launched a feature wherein you can actually open that company's XYZ company's page, and if you scroll down, you can actually there's a button which you can click on and tell the company that, okay, you are interested in any of the XYZ job. So you can actually leverage that feature, which is a really good feature for letting any recruiter, not XYZ recruiter, but any recruiter of that XYZ company know that you are looking for a job and you are actually interested in it. And once you've done that, and even if you've not received a response, what you can actually do is figure out who are the hiring managers, or not just the recruiters, but even there are people in the team who do actually straight away hiring. It's not necessarily that your candidature has to come from an HR, but it also can come through a hiring manager. So you can actually message them, letting them know that, okay, you do have the relevant experience and you're fondly would want to work on this XYZ company. And you can also list the reason why, because they would receive numerous applications, and you should actually show why is it that you would want to join the company and why should I even select you. And you can actually message and ask them to, have a chat further.
Deciding a project for our CV, like the problem statement for a project, what should be kept in mind? Like what factors should be kept in mind?
While deciding a new project, or you're talking about a...
Because when we're putting a project in a CV, the problem statement for the project, like what problem we are solving.
Okay, so you want to understand that how do you even extract the problem statements out of a project?
Yes, like when you're coming up with that PS, what are the factors that you should keep in mind while curating it?
Okay, so basically, problem statements can actually be deduced from a solution as well. So let's say you build an application which could help. So I'll give an example that let's say I'm trying to build an application where within college people can actually start booking cabs. So, and with this project, I did actually see that out of 800 students, 500 students did start booking cabs via an application. So for me, the problem statement can be that, okay, all of my 100% of customers were not able to have a good app experience. They had to contact different peoples within college via Google Sheets, via emails, via SMS. So for them, it's very difficult to actually contact that uh, application owner in different channels. There's no proper tracking of what has been my old bookings. So as a customer, what I try, so as a problem solver, what I tried to build was an application which could help the users also track the past bookings that he made, and also have a full end-to-end experience for them to actually start booking, do the booking, and actually get a confirmation of the booking as well. So you can actually think of the problem statements from the solutions too, and then what you need to focus on is whom are you solving it for and why are you solving it for. Okay, what are your customers for whom you are actually solving this problem statement, and why are you even solving it? Is it even big enough? If customers are so let's say in the same example, I've launched a mobile application and I'm also launching a desktop or an M site. Now, for me, if I'm saying that, okay, my problem statement is not everybody is on mobile application, not everybody wants to install an application on their phones, and that is why I built an M site or a website, it's not a big enough problem for me. It's not that big enough that I spend all of my resources in building a website, which is going to take time, which is going to take developers working on it, which is going to take design. So it's not a big enough problem for me. So I need to understand that who are going to be my consumers and why is this solution for those customers.
Okay, that was a really good answer. Thank you.
Okay, so my question is, how can we present the market research or user research which we have conducted for our projects for intern, or like how can we present it in the best way in a CV?
Okay. I think market research are best done with a sample of customers. So if you're trying to launch a product or something that's new to the market, what you can do is, once you've understood that, okay, these are going to be my customers, you go to these customers and you do a research and you do ask those customers that are they going to be using your product or not? If they are going to be using, how seamless or how smooth do they think is the experience on the product, and how often are they going to use your product? So that really gives you an idea that, okay, if I'm going to the market, if I'm going to launch this product, are customers going to use my product or not? That is one way of doing a market research, where you do actually contact the actual real customers and get feedback and then accordingly iterate. The second thing is basically benchmarking. So if you are building a product that already exists in the market, you do need to understand that, okay, why are those customers going to use your product versus not the other product? So you do need to figure out the features. You do need to look at those benchmarking applications, that what is something that they are missing and that you can build at your own. And once you've done this entire activity of conducting a user research and a market research, you do deduce them into a perfect stats. You can tell the recruiter in the resume that, okay, you contacted 100 students, out of this 50 responded, and out of these 50 students, 10 responded that it was a great product. So that is where, as a recruiter, I'd get to know that, okay, you did that effort of actually doing a user and a market research, and you did come with an outcome or some conclusion to it. Did this answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. We have got another question. What kind of specific PM projects did you work on during your time at Nykaa?
Okay. I don't think I'll be able to share the exact projects, but generally I'll give a general examples that let's say you're working in any online e-commerce company. Your objectives as a product manager is to basically get more and more traffic on the app or any platform. And once the enough traffic is there on the platform, how do we make them shop more and more so that it generates more revenue for the company? So we do build features around bringing more user traffic. Some of the very basic solutions are building a good SEO. So even if you're not an XYZ e-commerce company's customer, if you're typing something on Google, it's very essential that you come onto our website. So those are the SEO practices that we do on a day-to-day basis to ensure that we get more and more traffic. And once we are there on the page, once you're there on the platform, once you start shopping at Nykaa, we want to ensure that you get maximum, that you do place an order. So we do want to ensure that right from searching a product, right from selecting the quantity, and trying to do the payment of that entire cart, it should be very seamless for you. Because if it's not seamless, if you're not able to do the payment, you'll definitely go to another app and try to find the same product and shop from there. So that's when we really lose our customers, and our objective is to basically build a seamless and a smooth experience for all the customers who are coming onto the platform, and also retaining them. So once you've already shopped, how do we know that, okay, you're going to shop again? So it's basically traffic and user retention.
I have a doubt. Like, how much design knowledge do we require to like become good at PM?
Good at, sorry?
Like in the product management field, how much design skills do we require?
Design sales actually getting into the software and start designing?
No, actually, for judging like the interface the company has, the app.
Okay.
So for the researching like design aspects of the product, do we require some like knowledge about design?
See, yes, actually, we do need to be good at understanding which all elements will be useful for the customer. But as a entry level, when you're applying for an entry level job, it's not at all required. You can actually develop those skills once you're there in the system. The only thing that you need to keep in mind is, if you are using, you yourself have to put yourself in the customer's shoes, and you do have to understand that, okay, that if you yourself are using that XYZ product, is there anything that is not working for you? Why is it that the call button is so up? Why is it that the chat button and call button are all mixed up? So you do have to keep in mind certain elements. But I think if you yourself start looking at the product, and you yourself start using the product more and more, you will be able to reduce it easily.
Thanks, man.
Okay, ma'am, I think that's about it for the. Somebody else has a question.
Yeah, I have a question that are product managers also involved in marketing the product?
Sorry, our product managers also involved in
Marketing the product.
They are actually, because once you build a product, you do not want your products to not see it. You would want them to actually start using a product as well. So it actually depends if that's a product that you can actually, if let's say it's just a feature that you're just introducing on an application. It does not really require a collaboration with the marketing team, but you yourself will have to understand that, okay, what can I do to make it look different within the application, so that if a customer comes on the same page, he should be able to understand that, okay, this is a new feature and I should try that. So in a lot of applications, you would see that whenever they introduce something, there's a new tag that they place against the title or something, so that the customers get an idea that, okay, this is something new and I should actually experiment it. So yeah, you are involved in a lot of marketing, because you do want to ensure that your customers are also using your product.
Do we have any more questions? I think that's about it. Thank you, ma'am. You answered all the questions very thoroughly, and it was very informative. And also thank you for such a lucrative and helpful session on this sought after topic. I mean, no doubt that after today's session, every attendee looking to build a successful career in product management was helped. And thank you all for joining us. We hope to see your participation in future webinars as well. To stay up to date with ESL, do check out our social media handles. And have a great day, everyone.
Okay, great. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Thank
you,
you, ma'am.
thank you,
It was
ma'am.
with you. We at ESL look work in future with you.
Okay, great.